Now, this is the account of how the Olden Times began, and of the era that in the annals the Golden Era by name was known, and how from Nibiru to earth the missions went the gold to obtain. The escape of Alalu from Nibiru was its beginning. With great understanding was Alalu endowed. Much knowledge he by learning acquired. By his forefather Anshargal of the heavens and of the circuits, much knowledge was amassed. By Inshar was knowledge greatly augmented. Of that Alalu made much learning. With the sages he discoursed, savants and commanders he consulted. Thus was knowledge of the beginning ascertained. Thus did Alalu this knowledge possess. The gold in the hammered bracelet was the confirmation. The gold in the hammered bracelet of gold in Tiamat's upper half was the indication. At the planet of gold, Alalu victoriously arrived, his chariot with the thunder crashing. With a beam, he scanned the place, his whereabouts to discover. His chariot on dry land descended. At the edge of extended marshes it landed. He put on an eagle's helmet. He put on a fish's suit. The chariot's hatch opened. And the open hatch he stopped to wonder. Dark-hued was the ground. Blue-white were the skies. No sound there was. There was no one to bid him welcome. Alone on an alien planet he stood, perchance from Nibiru forever exiled. To the ground himself he lowered. On the dark-hued soil he stepped. There were hills in the distance. Nearby much vegetation there was. Ahead of him there were marshes. Into the march he stepped. By the water's coolness he shuddered. Back to the dry ground he stepped. Alone on an alien planet he stood. With thoughts he was possessed. Of spouse and offspring with longing he remembered. Was he forever from Nibiru exiled? Of that again and again he wondered. To the chariot he soon returned, with food and drink to be sustained. Then deep sleep him overcame, a powerful slumber. How long he slept he could not remember. What awakened him he could not tell. A brightness there was outside, a brilliance on Nibiru unseen. A pole from the chariot he extended. With a tester it was equipped. It breathed the planet's air. Compatibility it indicated. The chariot's hatch he opened. At the open hatch he took a breath. And another breath he took. Then another and another. The air of Ki, indeed, compatible was. Alalu clapped his hands. A song of joy he was singing. Without an eagle's helmet, without a fish's suit, to the ground he himself lowered. The brightness outside was blinding. The rays of the sun were overpowering. Into the chariot he returned. A mask for the eyes he donned. He picked up the carried weapon. He picked up the handy sampler. To the ground himself he lowered. On the dark-hued soil he stepped. He made his way toward the marshes. Dark greenish were the waters. By the marsh's edge there were pebbles. Alalu picked a pebble. Into the marsh he thrust it. In the marsh, a moving his eyes glimpsed. The waters with fishes were filled. Into the marsh the sampler he lowered, the murky waters to consider. For drinking the water was not fit. Alalu greatly disappointing. He turned away from the marshes. In the direction of the hills he went. He made his way through the vegetation. Bushes to trees gave way. The place was like an orchard. The trees with fruits were laden. By their sweet smell enticed, Alalu picked a fruit. In his mouth he put it. Sweet was the smell, sweeter was the taste. Alalu greatly it delighted. Away from the sun's rays, Alalu was walking. Toward the hills he set his direction. Among the trees, a wetness under his feet he sensed, a sign of close-by waters. In the direction of the wetness, he set his course. In the midst of the forest there was a pond, a pool of silent waters. Into the pond the sampler he lowered. For drinking the water was good. Alalu laughed. An unstopping laughter seized him. The air was good. The water for drinking was fit. There was fruit. There was fishes. With eagerness Alalu bent down. Together his hands he cupped. Water to his mouth he brought. A coolness did the water have. A taste from Nibiru's water different. Once more he drank. Then with a fright he asunder jumped. A hissing sound he could hear. A slithering body by the poolside was moving. His carried weapon he seized. A blast of its ray toward the hissing he directed. The moving stopped. The hissing was ended. To examine the danger, Alalu stepped forward. The slithered body lay still. Dead was the creature, a sight most strange. Like a rope its long body was. Without hands or feet was the body. Fierce eyes were in its small head. Out of its mouth a long tongue was sticking. A sight on Nibiru never beheld it was, a creature of another world. Was it the orchard's guardian? Alalu by himself pondered. Was it the water's master? He himself asked. In his carried flask he some water collected. With alertness to the chariot he made his way. The sweet fruits he also picked. To the chariot he set his course. The brightness of the sun's rays were greatly diminished. Darkness it was as the chariot he reached. The shortness of the day, Alalu pondered. Its shortness him amazed. From the direction of the marshes, a cool lightness on the horizon was rising. A white-hued ball in the heavens was quickly rising. Kingu, the earth's companion, he now beheld. What in the accounts of the beginning, his eyes the truth could now see. The planets and their circuits, the hammered bracelet, Ki the earth, Kingu its moon, all created were, all by names were called. In his heart Alalu knew one more truth a beholding needed. The gold, the means of salvation to be found was needed. If truth be in the beginning's tales, if by the waters the golden veins of Tiamat were washed, in the waters of Ki, its cut off half, gold must be found. With hands unsteady, Alalu the tester from the chariot's pole dismantled. With trembling hands the fish's suit he donned, the fast arriving daylight eagerly awaiting. At daybreak the chariot he exited, to the marshes he quickly stepped. Into deeper waters he waded, the tester into the waters he inserted. Its illuminated face he eagerly watched. In his chest his heart was pounding. The water's content was the tester indicating, by symbols and numbers its finding disclosing. Then Alalu's heartbeat stopped. There was gold in the waters, the tester was telling. Unsteady on his legs, Alalu stepped forward. Deeper into the marshes he made his way. Again he the tester into the waters inserted. Again the tester gold announced. A cry of triumph from Alalu's throat emanated. Nibiru's fate in his hands now was. Back to the chariot he made his way. The fish's suit off he took. The commander's seat he occupied. The tablets of destinies that knows all circuits he enlivened. To Nibiru's circuit to find the direction. The speaker of words he stirred up. Toward Nibiru the words to carry. Then to Nibiru words he uttered. Thus he was saying, the words of the great Alalu to Anu on Nibiru are directed. On another world I am. The gold of salvation I have found. The fate of Nibiru is in my hands. To my conditions you must give heed. The fate of Nibiru is in my hands. To my conditions you must give heed. Those were the words of Alalu. From dark-hued earth to Nibiru they were, by the speaker, beamed. When the words of Alalu to Anu, the king, were conveyed, Anu astounded was. Astounded were the counselors, amazed were the sages. Alalu is not dead, they asked each other. Could indeed he on another world be living? They with disbelief were saying. Was he not on Nibiru hiding, in the chariot to a place of concealment gone? The commanders of chariots were summoned. Savants the beamed words considered. The words from Nibiru did not come. From beyond the hammered bracelet they were spoken. This was their finding. This to Anu the king they reported. Stunned was the king. The happening he pondered. Let words of acknowledgement to Alalu be sent. To the assembled he was saying. At the place of the celestial chariots the command was given. To Alalu words were spoken. Anu the king, to you his greetings send. Of your well-being to learn he is pleased. From your departing from Nibiru there was no reason. Enmity is not in Anu's heart. If gold for salvation you have indeed discovered, let Nibiru be saved. The words of Anu Alalu's chariot did reach. Alalu them quickly answered. If your savior I am to be, your lives to save, convince the princes to assembly. My ancestry declare supreme. Let the commanders make me their leader, bow to my command. Let the council pronounce me king, on the throne Anu to replace. When the words of Alalu on Nibiru were heard, great was the consternation. How could Anu be deposed? The counselors asked each other. What if Alalu mischief, not truth, is telling? Where is his asylum? Did gold indeed he find? They summoned the sages, of the wise and learned, counseling they asked. The oldest of them spoke. I was Alalu's master, he was saying. He had hearkened to teachings of the beginning. Of the celestial battle he was learning. Of the watery monster Tiamat and her golden veins he knowledge acquired. If indeed beyond the hammered bracelet he had journeyed, on earth the seventh planet is his asylum. In the assembly a prince spoke up. A son of Anu he was. Of the womb of Antu, Anu's spouse, he was the issue. Enlil was his name. Lord of the command it meant. Words of caution he was saying. Of conditions Alalu cannot speak. Calamities were his handiwork. By single combat in wrestling he the throne forfeited. If Tiamat's gold he indeed had found, proof of that is needed. Is it for protecting our atmosphere sufficient? How through the hammered bracelet to Nibiru can it be brought? Thus did Enlil, the son of Anu, speak. Others many questions also asked. Much proof was greatly needed. Many answers are required. All agreed. The words of the assembly to Alalu were conveyed. A response demanded. Alalu's the words merit pondered. To transmit his secrets he agreed. Of his journey and its perils, in truth he gave an account. Of the tester its crystal innards he removed. From the sampler its crystal heart he took out. Into the speaker he the crystals inserted. All the findings to transmit. Now that proof has been delivered, declare me king, bow to my command, he sternly demanded. The sages were aghast. With weapons of terror, Alalu on Nibiru more havoc caused. With weapons of terror, a path through the bracelet he blasted. Once in its circuit, Nibiru, that region passes, calamities Alalu is amassing. In the council there was much consternation. The kingship to alter was indeed a grave matter. Anu, not by ancestry alone, was king. By fair wrestling the throne he attained. In the assembly of the princes, a son of Anu stood up to speak. He was wise in all matters. Among the sages, renowned he was. Of the secrets of waters, he was a master. Ea, he whose home is water, he was called. Of Anu, he was the firstborn. To Damkina, Alalu's daughter, he was espoused. My father by birth is Anu the king, Ea was saying. Alalu by marriage my father is. To bring the two clans into unison was my espousal's intention. Let me be the one in this conflict unity to bring. Let me Anu's emissary to Alalu be. Let me be the one Alalu's discoveries to uphold. Let me in a chariot to earth journey, a path through the bracelet with water, not fire, I shall fashion. On earth from the waters let me the precious gold obtain. To Nibiru back it will be sent. Let Alalu be king on earth, a verdict of the sages awaiting. If Nibiru it will save, let there be a second wrestling. Who shall Nibiru rule, let it determine. The princes, the counselors, the sages, the commanders heard Ea's words with wonder. Full of wisdom they were. For conflict they solution found. Let it so be, Anu announced. Let Ea journey. Let the gold be tested. Alalu a second time, I then shall wrestle. Let the winner be on Nibiru king. The words of decision to Alalu were conveyed. He pondered them and agreed. Let Ea, my son by marriage, to earth come. Let gold from the waters be obtained. Let it for salvation on Nibiru be tested. Let a second wrestling kingship by me or Anu settle. So it be, Anu in the assembly decreed. Enlil rose an objection. The king's word unalterable was. Ea to the place of the chariots went. Commanders and sages he consulted. The mission's dangers he contemplated. How to extract and bring the gold he considered. Alalu's transmission he carefully studied. Alalu for more testings the results he requested. A tablet of destinies for the mission he was fashioning. If water be the force, where could it be replenished? Where could the chariot it be stored? How to force it will it be converted? A full circuit of Nibiru did pass in contemplations. A shar of Nibiru in preparations past. The largest celestial chariot for the mission had been fitted. Its circuit's destiny had been calculated. A tablet of destiny has been firmly fixed. 50 heroes will for the mission be required to journey to earth, the gold to obtain. To the journey Anu his approval gave. The stargazers for the journey, the right time to begin then selected. At the place of the chariots multitudes gathered to bid farewell to the heroes, and to their leader did they come. Bearing eagles' helmets, carrying each a fish's suit, the heroes in the chariot one by one entered. The last to embark was Ea. To the gathering he bade farewell. Before his father Anu he knelt down, the king's blessing to receive. My son, the firstborn, a far journey you have undertaken, for us all to be endangered. Let your success calamity from Nibiru banish. Go and in safety come back. So did Anu to his son speak a blessing, bidding him farewell. The mother of Ea, the one called Nanul, to her heart embraced him. Why, after by Anu as a son to me you were given, did he with a restless heart you endow? Go and come back, the hazardous road traverse safely, to him she said. With tenderness Ea kissed his spouse. Damkina he without words embraced. Enlil with his half-brother locked arms. Be blessed, be successful, to him he said. With heavy heart Ea the chariot entered, to soar up the command he gave. Now this is the account of the journey to the seventh planet, and how the legend of the fish god who came from the waters was begun.